everybody. Welcome. And today we have a very special guest, Cindy from the Seeing Blind channel. And her channel is linked down below in the description box. And we welcome your questions during the live stream. Anytime people have questions, please let us know. And the topic today is a topic that I think Cindy came up with a phrase for. We'll find out. Independence fatigue. And I think that can relate to anybody, but especially how it relates to the blind population. So thank you for joining us today, Cindy.
Yeah, thanks, Diana, for having me on. Hi, everybody. My name is Cindy. If you have not met me yet or are familiar with my work on social media, but yeah, I'm a blind mom. My YouTube channel is Seeing Blind and TikTok is Seeing Blind. I'm on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, you know, all the good places. And yeah, about a month or so ago, I hit one of these, you know, phases that I commonly find myself in as a disabled woman. And I was struggling to figure out, how do I explain it, identify it, label it? Like, how do I, you know, understand what's going on so that I can process it and get through it and, you know, create a strategy for it. And one day it just kind of, I just knew it wasn't compassion fatigue. You know, I have a background in counseling and therapy and such, and I've studied compassion fatigue, knew it wasn't that. I knew I wasn't, you know, having any issues with depression necessarily, though I was going through a lot of just feeling apathetic about a lot of things in life. And I just could not put my finger on it, though. And finally it dawned on me one day, I was in independence fatigue, and that just really kind of summed up this phase for me. Just this phrase, independence fatigue. I was tired of being independent. You know, we all strive as with our disabilities to still be able, capable people and express our own self-autonomy in our own unique ways. Thank you. And sorry, my son is bringing me presents. And yeah, and it's just, but there's times when, you know, that is still so draining and exhausting. And even, you know, at our best days, we still have to realize that we do need breaks. We have to step back, and it's okay to not be independent. It doesn't make us any less capable or able, and giving ourselves that permission to do so is a struggle for many of us. So, but that's what I found myself entering into every now and then, was just this phase of like, man, I just don't want to do anything. I'm tired of fighting. I don't want to be frustrated today. I don't want to deal with the typical, you know, irritations and struggles of being blind. I'm done. I want to break. And so that's what it is. It's independence fatigue.
So do you give yourself breaks, like daily? Like, now do you feel like you have some awareness about this, and now you pace yourself, or you allow yourself breaks throughout the day?
Well, it's not necessarily something that I think we enter in daily, though that might be some people's experience. It's certainly open for interpretation. But this is usually something that I go through, you know, maybe once a month or maybe every other month. And it's just where I have 2 to 3 days where my desire to be independent is just, it's done. I am tapped out. And so, yeah, it's just something that when I realize that, hey, I am, you know what, I've reached my end. My tolerance levels are low. I have zero desire to fight the battles, the struggles. I'm irritated. I'm snapping at everybody all the time. I need a break. It's something I usually find myself in, I don't know, about once a month or every other month, like I said. But for everybody, it might be a little different. And just recognizing it and for me, just having words to identify it really helped me to understand when I'm in those phases, like, and I'm just snapping at everybody and I have no idea what's going on with me. I just know that I'm off, something's off, and it's just, having an identifier really helped me get to that point where I could then strategize and figure out, okay, oh, this is what this is. I recognize it. I have a name for it now.
Mm-hmm.
And I just, start working on my coping strategies that work for me to kind of get through it and know that it's okay to give myself that break and that time to step back and refuel and renew myself so that I can be a bigger, better, independent woman in about 48 hours.
Wow.
So, yeah.
Well, I'd like to involve the chat and anybody in the chat. We have Flo Beck here. Are you familiar with Flo Beck channel?
No, but I might
Oh, Flo Beck is a part of the, yes, she's part of the YouTube blind community. And Flo Beck, can you relate to that? And Flo Beck, you're certainly invited up on the panel also. Flo Beck, if you'd like to come up on the panel, or please let us know your thoughts in the chat. And also, of course, this is open to this discussion's open to everybody, the sighted as well as the blind populations. That
yeah, I think able-bodied people can. I got actually a lot of feedback when I did a TikTok on this, and I did a YouTube also live chat about this, because I often do blind community chats 1 to 2 times a week on my channel, and we were discussing it. And I've got some able-bodied people on my channel that are sighted supporters, their spouses, family members.
yes.
And they were talking about how, you know what, I don't even have a disability, and I feel like I experienced this. And I'm like, yes, everybody does. If you're working full time and you're, everyone's got their daily grind that just wears them down, whether you have a disability or not. And I think independence fatigue is just something that everybody hits that, rut, and they just need to step back and relax and regroup. So yeah, this is just, it's just one of those terms that I think everybody can relate to at some point in their life.
Yay, Flo wants to come on the panel. Hold on, let me okay, I'm getting the link. Flo, hold on.
Welcome. Yeah. I love chatting. The more the merrier. This is.
Yes. And Paul couldn't, I did not make the announcement. My usual co-host, Paul, could not join us today because he's grieving the passing away of his pet that he'd had for 18 years. And also he's dealing with something with his girlfriend's mother who has Alzheimer's. So he could not join us today.
So Paul, if you're watching this on the replay or anything, just I'm thinking of you, my friend. And I hope, I know our pets are our family members. They're our fur babies. Yes. I get it. And my heart goes out to you, my friend.
There you go, Flo. I put the link in. And I experienced the fatigue from if I have to read too much, and because I do everything through my magnifying glass, and then I can use Orcam read if I want, but I use that for long-term reading rather than short-term reading. But I have that fatigue, that kind of fatigue. I have some kind of fatigue that goes on a daily, weekly basis that I've been trying to figure out. Yeah. I have a problem of being too self-critical. I beat myself up, and that is exhausting, and it wears me down. And now I actually did a thing where, okay, I want personal growth, and I'm like, so I feel like I'm not growing. I don't know, in my life, I feel like I'm growing. So I just came up with this idea. I have a personal growth workbook journal now that, okay, what are my goals this week for just pick 2 or 3 things. What am I looking to improve on and I thought that's really, and then I can write down my thoughts on it each day. And that way I can track. For me, that's just very helpful to track. Am I growing personally or not? Right.
Right. That's awesome. Yeah. And I think the fatigue that you're speaking of is different than independence fatigue. I think the fatigue that we experience on a daily basis, it's the more physical fatigues and strains is a little bit different than the more kind of emotional, psychosocial kind of fatigue of independence fatigue and just fighting the culture and the just life struggle of being disabled. But there's, people don't realize that having a disability is naturally more exhausting. We're using more brain resources to adapt. Hang on just a second. My kids are having a meltdown.
Okay.
Pause, y'all. Talk amongst yourself. I'll be right back. Let me go.
Okay, Sandy will be right back. She has 2 or 3 kids. You have 3 kids?
I have a 4 and a 6-year-old, and they're currently in a big fight right now. So just hang on. Let me go bring her next real quick. I'll be right back.
Yes, young children. She's dealing with ages 4 and 6. So that's a handful. So Flo, please join us. There's the link. Of course, she might be having Flo Beck says she wants to join us. We welcome anybody else on panel. Grayscale, if you'd like to come up. Jaden. It doesn't just have to be the blind population. We welcome anybody up on panel who would like to join in the discussion.
But so back to my thought. I think that so a lot of people don't realize, because when the last 5 years, I experienced a huge spike again in my sight loss journey, and I lost a lot more vision. And I was noticing.
Oh, hold on. Hi, Flo. Welcome.
Hello, Flo.
How are you?
It's so nice for you to join us.
Thank you. I appreciate this.
Thank you. You're welcome. So now, so Cindy was okay. You were in the middle of saying what, Cindy?
I think I was noticing that just in my own self-growth and reflection, that as my disability progressed and continued to deteriorate, that my energy levels were also becoming just just my resources were becoming thinner. My tolerance levels were not as high as they used to be. My nerves, I was more irritated, agitated. And I realized it's because, and I did a little bit of digging, that a lot of people don't realize the extra just brain power and emotional drain that it is on a daily, hourly basis in adapting and constantly figuring out strategies for coping, for dealing with, adapting and problem solving, constantly dealing with potential crises and irritations and frustrations of, being hit with that wall of, okay, I can't do this, so how am I going to problem solve? And that constant being on our toes with a disability and living life that way is more exhausting. So people don't realize the emotional and physical toll that alone plays on our bodies. And it's not something that improves with age, unfortunately. And so I always tell everybody that make sure that, if you're noticing that you're fatiguing more, you're straining your eyes, you're stressing your body. I've got a video about identifying what your eye stressors are, what your eye strains are, and what triggers your eye fatigues. I break it all down. I have 3 different categories. And so that's my own self-assessments that I go through so that I can determine, where I'm at, what's going on. Because if I go into full-blown eye fatigue, I don't feel it just in my eyes. I feel it in my entire body. Oh. And that's where we get our neck pain, our back pain. So that's where, we start to get migraines. I have Charles Bonnet syndrome. I'll experience more of the Charles Bonnet syndrome and just all kinds of that stuff. It becomes like a systematic issue, and it just, a lot of other things stem from it. So I always warn everybody that you have to have a higher level of self-awareness so that you can identify when your body's telling you that, hey, you've been on guard, you're constantly problem solving and adapting all day long, you need a break.
See, I find that I'm constantly using my eyes. It's like, what? Like, this is so weird. It's like, okay, there's hardly any I like listening to music, but usually I cannot just sit there and listen to music. I'm usually using my eyes, doing my artwork, reading, and I was just realizing this the other day. Recently, that just most everything I do involves my eyes, unless I go out for a walk, and that that uses less my eyes in that close-up way that I do when I use my eyes on the computer or for my artwork. And I know I'm using my eyes all day, which is Yeah.
Yeah, I think as a visual artist,
yeah.
that is something that, it's something that does require a little extra self-awareness and self-care for, because you are straining your eyes more. You are using what functional vision you have remaining at its max potential.
Yeah.
And so, yes, you are going to fatigue a lot faster. And if your condition deteriorates, you'll learn that that increases as your vision decreases, if that makes sense. So coming up with your own strategies of combating that is going to go a long way of not only protecting the vision that you have, because eye strain will lead to further eyesight loss, but it's going to help your overall mental and physical, I think, health. This is just my own self-experiences, guys. It's not like I've got research articles, to point to, but this is just in my own general readings and my own experience. So take it with a grain of salt, but definitely, taking about every 20 minutes, a good 5 to 10 minute break of resting your eyes, moving your eyes. Diana, you know what, like when you are sleeping and you sleep like in one position for too long.
Yeah.
And your body starts to ache and you're like, I gotta move.
Yes.
Sometimes I'll notice that my eyes are straining in one particular place too long. It might be just 1 minute, it might be 5 minutes, because I have to move my eyes around a lot. But sometimes if I don't move them around a lot, it's like I'll get that ache, like that same kind of ache. And so I always tell everybody, like, rest your eyes, and resting your eyes doesn't always have to be closing them, but just simply moving them around and stretching all the other muscles that you're maybe not moving so much.
Oh, that's a good reminder. I know I don't take those. I got to take those breaks now. Flo, have you experienced independence fatigue?
Well, I do have a question, and this may be in the opposite direction from that, but you don't learn unless you ask. So
go for it.
With some of the frustration that I have, and I can, because yes, I can, like you were talking about, I can tell some things out of my right eye. Like if I'm out in the sun, I definitely have to turn my head away from that for a fact.
So you have some photophobia?
Well, if I'm right directly in that, if I open my right eye, it can turn red if I'm too close to the sunlight.
Mm-hmm.
And I try to turn my head away from it some, and even wear glasses helps with that a little.
Mm-hmm.
Like the sunglasses.
Yep.
But back to my point here, the frustrations for me, because I use my hands a lot for stuff, and one, if I don't have something puff painted to where it's right there under my fingers, like if I'm, depending on the shirt color, the pants, oh, how am I going to tell if this matches?
Are you talking about with laundry?
Yes.
Okay. So are you needing some laundry tips?
Well, I have that already, but
okay,
this frustration of
I see,
not getting help doing the puff painting is, wow, I need to be doing this myself. But if I'm not, I'll show you my shirt that I'm wearing now. It's purple because it has the word P in it.
And
it's a raised print letter, but without having somebody to put that on there, how would I ever know?
I see. Do you do you like wearing some of the similar colors or patterns, or is your wardrobe kind of is it kind of like just sporadic, kind of all over the place? Or do you, like, for example, I always lean to two colors that are very contrasting. So I have like a black and white, and I have pink and green. Those are usually the only colors you'll ever see me wear. And then my kids have their own specific colors and such. And they're like specific colors that I can't get wrong, because I do have some color blindness as well. But is that something that could help you? Like if you only kind of just purchase certain things in this color family?
Well, that's something I've never done before, because now the pants, I'm always getting blue pants, but sometimes if you're in certain places, they'll tell you to wear black pants or something, but then you have to go, okay, what shirt do I wear with this? And then you're going, is it yellow, purple? Because you will have your different colors.
Yeah.
And I have several that are like that.
Send a message to Matthew Jackson. What about you, Diana? Do you ever struggle?
Not with that. Not with no. I'm low. I'm more like low vision. I'm high functioning low vision. So I don't have. I'm a colorist in my artwork. I deal with color. I don't. I have no loss of color vision. So I do. I mean, so I revel in color. I love color.
I always struggle with socks, especially like when people gift my kids, fun socks. I have a girl and a boy, and it's always funny when my son's like, "Mom, I don't want to wear girl socks," and I'm like, "Oh, sorry, honey. Like their feet are about the same size now." So, and it's just one of those things where, I've got sock locks now, and I have different, strategies that I use where I always pin them together, keep them paired up as much as possible. And they stay paired when they go through the wash. And, they are color coded as well. So I can kind of help identify which ones are my sons and which ones are my daughters and the rest of the family. And, there's just little tips and strategies. Puff paint is a good one, but, like you say, it's kind of not always the most reliable. I mean, it's one of those things where you kind of just have to find what works for you. Puff paint never worked for me. It was just a tedious process. And when you got little ones, they're constantly outgrowing clothes. I'll puff paint every weekend. I just don't have that kind of time. So you end up some people will take like little pins and they'll pin to help identify clothes, pin sets together. There's different ways that you can actually like kind of create little additional stitches or buttons. And that's how some people will also do it. There's so many different strategies out there that help with that. And, but it is a constant struggle with laundry. And a lot of people, for me, it was just simplifying my color palette. And knowing, like, for a long time, my daughter, the only color pants, leggings that she wore as a little girl were black. So it didn't matter what shirt I paired with it, she's going to be wearing black pants. And like just picking little strategies like that. And, you can always switch it up per season. It's not like everyone kind of gets tired of wearing the same thing, after a while. But after, 2-3 months, you can switch it out. But, just kind of organizing and baking and breaking it down, making sometimes less is more, if that makes sense. I posted a video not long ago. I can't remember if it was an Instagram reel or TikTok, but I was basically letting everybody know that, as a blind mom, I realized every single thing, whether it's laundry or whether it's toys or a pencil or pen or some new gadget in the kitchen, everything in my house, I have to view as inventory. I'm like running a business. I have to know every single inventory in my home, where it is, it's got a place, and I got to figure out a way of organizing it so that I know what it is. And so when you kind of look at it as inventory, you realize having and collecting too much just creates more frustration, more irritations throughout your home. And so I always tell everyone, like, organization is key, yes, but sometimes knowing when you need to declutter.
Oh, I have an organization question.
Yes.
It may be, it's not about, it doesn't relate to blindness, but I do have a big organization problem that we do not have enough storage space. I'm in a 200-year-old house. We do not have enough storage space. And I don't know, my husband has more clutter than me. But he inherited all his father's old tools, and and it's very sentimental value to him, like a bunch of his father's belongings that have cluttered up our living room. And
yes,
I mean, so what's the answer if you don't have enough storage space? I guess, does that mean you have to throw stuff out? I guess you just have to throw more stuff out, and some stuff I feel like I can't throw out. I mean, I can't throw out. I don't know.
Sentimental value, I totally get. I totally get it. But sometimes not all 50 pieces. You know what I'm saying? Sometimes just paring everything down, simplifying everything down to one or two things that remind you of that.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
Is kind of like, sometimes it's difficult to let all that stuff go. But that's sort of the challenge, I mean, if you can keep track and manage and store it all, then great. But if you have to decide, is it worth that frustration and irritation in your life? Are you willing to deal with that clutter? And if it's causing you more frustration than you're receiving back in sentimental value, then you need to reassess, okay, how can I pare this down so that I'm keeping what is sentimentally valued and that represents this whole, as this lot of things that I have from, previous family members or what have you, and just recognize I don't need it all. And what can you part with so that it is more manageable? Because as much sentimental value as these things have, it's not worth our mental health at the end of the day. So I think recognizing and really self-analyzing and asking yourself that question of how can I'm not saying that you have to get rid of everything and live this minimalist life. A lot of people do and find a lot of freedom in that. I am not a minimalist at all. There's no way I can do that. But I have noticed a lot less frustration in the household when I do purge and when I realize and identify, okay, what is sentimentally valuable to me and how can I pare that category down versus all the other things in the household. So it's just sort of a self journey process.
Yeah. Or when you have a lot of like craft or art supply items, and there's some that I haven't used in a while, and it's taking up space. So I guess I could say, okay, I haven't used this in a while. So, and then you had the thing where, but I might use it in the future, right? So, so then what do you say? Well, if I haven't used it, this clothing item, this art item in a year, would it be like in a year? Then I should maybe let it go.
I know a lot of fashion experts, which I am not into fashion very much myself. I mean, see previous conversation as a blind mom. I mean, fashion is not my forte, but I do hear a lot of the experts do recommend that if there is a piece of clothing in your closet that you've gone 4 seasons without ever touching, it's time to let it go. So I do that. If I've put a piece, because usually I will organize my closet, my children's closet by season. So like right now I'm going through the process of switching out from winter to spring and summer. And so I will identify the pieces like, did I wear this at all last year? And if I didn't, then the likelihood of me wearing it this year is even lower. So it's best I just go ahead and put that aside and just let it go. If you're right now, with the way the economy is right now, you kind of have to reassess, okay, am I going to have a budget to replace this then? And do I need to just go ahead and suck it up and wear this shirt, even though it's not my favorite? And you kind of just have to reassess where you are at. I think everyone's in their own situations right now, and it's just self-reflection. But generally, think the rule of thumb is if you haven't worn a piece in over a year, it is time to let it go.
Yeah, and then for like different office items or art supply items, I'll say, well, I haven't used this in a while, but the thing, it often, and I don't know if it's often or maybe it just sticks out in my mind where, oh, I just got rid of that, and all of a sudden a week later, oh, I need that thing. And I don't think that you're like, I know I shouldn't have gotten rid of that, but I don't think that probably happens that often. It just sticks out in my mind that that's happened, and then it gives me the scare, it gives me the fear, like, no, I who knows, like I might be needing this because this has happened before where I let it go, and then I'm like, and a week later, oh yeah, why did I get, you know what I mean? That have you experienced that?
Yeah, and I think that's a fear that a lot of people have with clothing as well, especially like if they're, everyone's got their pandemic 15 on, and then everyone's like, oh, I'm going to save this clothing because I know when I lose weight, I'm going to want to wear it again. And everyone's got that wardrobe that they, like, oh, this is my, when I'm up 15-pound wardrobe, and this is when I'm down 15-pound wardrobe. And sometimes, and then it just never happens, and then when you do get to that point, you want nice new clothes to reward yourself anyway. So it's like, it is a catch-22. We can really play a lot of mind games with ourselves. And this is where it kind of touches base with one of the blind community chats I also had recently on self-deception, and how like we get into these little self-deceiving, manipulative ways of thinking that we convince ourselves and rationalize all these decisions for keeping things. And giving ourselves that permission and allowing ourselves to do that and think that way. But it's like leading us down into the self-deception and realize it's this whole process of just being self-aware and really truly digging into your inner self and finding your truth. Do I really want to keep this clothing? And when I get to the point where I can or want to wear it again, do I really think I will? And if you get rid of something and you find later down the road, oh man, I really wish I hadn't got rid of that. Or, oh man, I really wish, it's one of those things where you kind of have to weigh how many times does that happen versus how many times have you let something go and you haven't ever needed it again, or you never missed it at all. And so which do you prefer? Would you rather keep everything and knowing that you're going to have it when you need it, or live an easier, less frustrating life that's more organized on the daily basis and risk? That situation might come up every now and then where, oh man, I knew I had something like this. Like I used to have an electric blanket. This last winter, let me tell you how many times I wish I had kept that electric blanket with all the crazy daggone cords and stuff that frustrated the heck out of me, and plugging it in, all that stuff. I really wish I had it a couple of times, but you know what? I got by just fine without it. And I am still happier overall without that electric blanket frustration cord fiasco in my life. So it's just one of those self-analyzing things.
Does Flo have any comments or questions?
Well, and on that same note, but with a different thing, another frustration, like I have been told several times, you can't cook, you don't know when nothing's done. You don't know how to clean, you don't clean very good, to the point where it gets to, okay, I've been to school for this. What more do you people want? And there's why. I started a YouTube channel a few years back, and I said, where are my cleaning skills now, people? Right there. What am I cooking in now? The air fryer, I use the grill inside, it's more than the microwave.
So, Flo, are you finding people are doubting your ability as a visually impaired person?
Some people around me have, and I'm like, okay, it's out there, go look it up. Because I've had videos out there now.
Yeah, I think, I think so many in the disability community it's a constant struggle fighting the ableist attitude. And people don't realize sometimes that they have an ableist attitude when they do, just in their own doubt of our ability. Instead of asking from a educational, like a very a place of curiosity and learning, and I want to be educated, they approach us with this doubt, this like unbelief in our abilities, and then it comes across very ableist. And that may not be their true intention, but it is an ableist attitude when you approach us with, instead of asking, well, how do you do this? Or, oh, well, I would love to know, how do you blah, 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 blah in the kitchen? And come at it from just very open-minded, zero assumptions. And when you approach it that way, you're open, the door's open. And I don't feel like I personally, anyway, don't feel like I'm being judged and that I have to prove myself or my skills. But when someone comes to me like, oh, you just need to let me do this. Or, oh, here, why don't you let me cook the meal? I'm sure it'll be a lot easier for me. Or, oh, it'll take me less time, so here, let me take over this task. People don't realize. I understand I guess their intent is not bad. I understand they want to be helpful. They think they're doing a good thing. But at the same time, it's insulting our self-autonomy. It's insulting our abilities. Do we do things differently? Yes. Do we do things in our own time frame? Yes. Do we do things in ways that appear as though we're struggling, but it's just us adapting and figuring it out? And by God, it might look like we're struggling for an extra 5 minutes, but hey, we're going to get it done. Don't take that away from us. It's okay if we do it differently. It's okay if it takes us extra time. And it's okay if it looks like we're struggling with it, because the end result is still going to be the same. And we're going to celebrate our win for it and our own self-autonomy. But that ableist attitude is a drain and a strain to fight on the daily when we have people in our lives that are constantly questioning us, that are constantly doubting our ability. And we feel like we constantly have to go to the plate and prove what we're capable of, and constantly go to the plate to bat, to keep doing the things that we do to gain our own self-independence, simply because they feel like we're not doing it the way they want us to or think we should. I struggle with that even with my own husband. So it's just one of those things where their heart is usually in the right place, and sometimes it's not. But that's where our self-advocacy comes in. That's where standing up for ourselves, using clear and honest, truthful communication comes into play, and setting clear, appropriate boundaries that let people know, hey, this is I'm feeling, we use just the counseling rule, the I words. I'm feeling like my self-autonomy is being kind of pushed around here a little bit. Do you mind just letting me take this job over and do it the way I usually do it? And just stepping up for ourselves, self-advocating and letting people know what our needs are. I will let you know when I need your help. Thank you, though, for offering. Or, hey, just so you know, I appreciate you offering your help and assistance, but I'm going to decline this time because I got it. And yeah.
And then the other one I've had, now this mainly ends up being a curious question, but do I struggle with how to bring this one out? And of course, there may be an easy way to do this, because you may know something easier that would, when I'm on my iPad, if I'm going to show something on the screen, like what the position for braille dots are, but I'm using beads or something, and they're not staying in place to the point that I have to hold my finger over the top of something.
So are you talking about like a braille display?
Yes.
Okay. And doing like a screen share of that? Or I'm confused.
Like if I hold a piece of notebook paper up to the screen and try to do a braille display on that with beads, but I'm using them loose because I don't want to glue them to anything.
I see. So are you doing kind of like a braille instructional video?
I would like to, but don't know how to demonstrate that using loose beads yet because
here's
scattering all over the place.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you what a lot of other blind, low vision people do in the community. They will use muffin tins with tennis balls. So really, you could use anything inside a muffin tin, but you can get a kind of 2x3 muffin tin, just like a 6, that represents the braille, grid. And so what they will do is they will the muffin tins help keep each whatever object confined that you're if you're wanting to represent the eye in braille, they would put whatever object in the muffin tin to help demonstrate what that would look like in braille. And then the other thing that you have to be careful with too is the mirroring feature. Sometimes people don't realize that their visual displays will display a mirror effect or vice versa, where it's like what's on my right, you all see is on my left, and vice versa kind of thing. And sometimes that will mess up some of the braille demonstrations as well. For example, like on shirts, some people will have their shirts like purposefully printed inverted so that when they're on screen, people can read it as like normal. It's getting into visual stuff that I don't always understand, but I know I've heard people discuss that as a kind of a glitch in demoing braille type of videos. But I know there's lots of strategies out there. I definitely can see your frustration of using like beads and loose objects on a paper. I think finding some way to confine them, like using a muffin tin, creating some kind of like grid kind of thing with a shoebox or something even smaller. You could use mason jars or just like the mason jar caps. Just something that would contain whatever medium you're using to represent the braille dots. I hope that would help.
I wonder if you could turn a muffin pan upside down and just tell there's 6 round places on there.
Yep.
And each of them represent what braille would look like.
Exactly. Yep. You could do it that way. You could turn it upside down, and for those who have some functional vision, you can put stickers and just move the stickers around, on the upside down muffin tin, just so that they can kind of understand the pattern of the braille visually as well as tactilely. There's a lot of different things, but if you get a look on TikTok and YouTube for what other people have done, watch that, because usually that's how we get inspiration from each other. I think that's how we grow as a community. We see what other people have done, because then we can figure out what works and then get inspired to take it the next step farther. Take it one step to, okay, how can I improve? Oh, he did a great job with this demonstration, but I've got a good idea on how I can even add a twist that someone might be able to benefit from. But give I think supporting our community and what we've already put out there and then improving upon it is how we progress as a community, and sharing what works, what doesn't work. And I think that's the beautiful thing about having, our community, blind community, on visual platforms like this,
Right.
YouTube and TikTok and all that stuff. I mean, TikTok is, oh my goodness, the blind community on TikTok is freaking amazing. I love. Oh yeah, y'all. I love. It's called Blind Talk. All you gotta do is hashtag Blind Talk, and it's TOK, as in
How do you,
blind. Talk.
how do you, oh, TOK, blind, as in TikTok, blind talk.
Yep, hashtag Blind Talk. That's kind of like the big going hashtag there. And yeah, getting in on the blind community on TikTok, that's where you get that's a great way to post a lot of just questions, and you get a lot of feedback. I've seen a lot of Braille tutorials on that platform, a little bit more than here on YouTube. But yeah, I highly just recommend, following the people that are already kind of doing similar things. That's what I did. I was following Sam from The Blind Life, Carrie from Live Accessible. I was following a lot of these people that occasionally posted the content that I was wanting to expand on. And so I just, took what they did and ran with it, because like Carrie, she was posting, some household, like just daily life and mom, tips, tricks, and hacks. But mostly she was geared more towards down more on the tech end of things. And the same goes with Sam. He was more in the product device kind of tech world. And I'm like, man, I really want to go out there and represent the moms out there, the people with, struggling with adapting and gaining independent living skills in the home. What devices, tips, tricks, and products work in the home just for daily disabled life. And so that's what I wanted to double down on. But I was looking and watching all the current creators out there so that I could figure out, okay, what works, what can I offer that's either better or a different twist. That way I'm not recreating the wheel, but I am contributing to the content in a valuable way, in a substantive way that's not just a repeat of what other people have already done. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And then the other side to that same question is, people do not think it as much, but like with some of the letters, like the letter A or the letter B, if you don't put a number sign in front of it, which a lot of us were taught to do, it's going to be a letter instead of a number.
That's right. And two, a lot of people don't realize that music in Braille is completely different than the notated, the literal Braille organization. And I tried to learn Braille, like literary Braille and music Braille at the same time.
Right.
Don't recommend that, y'all. Don't recommend them, because it was a blooming catastrophe in my head. Trying to figure out, okay, in reading, E looks like this, but in music, E looks like this, or feels like this. And it was just too much to keep track of when you are first learning. So I am a musician as well. And they were like, oh, well, then you need to take music Braille and literary Braille. And I just like, no, I definitely recommend everyone to like pick one, master that one, and then branch out.
Well, and even with that, as you mentioned, I am in the choir at church. Mm-hmm. Yes, that's interesting for you to hear this, but what I work with there on the iPad is Planning Center, which a lot of churches use. And that has our music listed for the week. Mm-hmm. The songs that we're going to be singing. So just usually listen and follow that a lot.
I was a oncology music therapist for about 5 years, and then I was private practice for almost I was a music therapist almost 10 years, and I had to memorize probably 98% of everything I did because I did not have enough music braille skills or literary braille skills. Even if I made myself like lead sheets and I was just following chord charts, I couldn't do it. I didn't have enough vision and I didn't have enough braille skills. And so my head for years was packed full of memorization of songs and keys and then chord charts, lead sheets, all of this stuff. And that's one of the reasons I kind of lost. I realized in my own struggles as a disabled career professional, I had to really self-evaluate my limits and how long I could maintain my professional career with such limited skills. Because if I had to quit my career, when I became a mom, but I've decided I'm not going to be going back into music therapy simply because I don't have the skills. And I also don't want to have that frustration of memorizing all that music and all the lyrics and that constant stress of, taking all the extra time to cram that all in my brain for my patients anymore. So music, I know, I definitely, if that's something that is speaking to anyone, if anyone else is having that struggle, I do highly recommend Sam from The Blind Life just did a really cool video talking about a little tech hack that he found or one of his subscribers found, and they discussed how individuals with low vision can still read their music with low vision using technology in a very creative way. So if anyone out there does have some functional vision, but it's one of those things where nothing's big enough, there's a hack for it. So I highly recommend checking Sam from The Blind Life. He's got a video on that will hopefully help.
Okay.
Something someone's struggling with.
And then the third side to this little braille display technology question I was asking is, how do you break it down into sections where you don't want to confuse people when you're doing the dot positions, but you want to give them enough they can study a few each day, and when they're ready, they can come back and say, we're ready for more?
Yeah, I know. So I'm actually getting ready. It's on my to-do list tomorrow, actually on Monday. I'm signing up for Hadley's program for learning Braille, and it's free. And it's one of those things where you kind of follow a workbook. And so they've already kind of built out the curriculum. And it might be worth just checking out how some of the other Braille institutes and how other Braille teachers and how all the programs that are already out there, maybe following some of their sequences, how they break it down, and seeing how you can maybe use that as inspiration to figure out how you would approach it on your channel and go from there. But I definitely think just it kind of goes back to what we call lesson planning. And you want to first identify your goals and your objectives. What do you want them to learn in this video? How are you going to get them to learn that goal? And then how are you going to measure it? So that way, they can understand if they've mastered that lesson or not. It has to be something measurable. So identify your goal. If you want them to okay, we're going to learn A, B, and C today. or we're going to just learn the vowels today, or oh, we're going to, and and just breaking it down and announcing your goal, and then how you're going to do it. Okay, I'm going to give you guys a visual demonstration, and then I'm going to show you a demonstration of what it looks like when paired next to other letters that we may have already learned, or you break it down that way. But get your goal, get your objectives, how you're going to, how are you going to meet that goal, and then at the very end of the video, okay, if you feel like you can master steps 1, 2, and 3, and confidently, then you've met your goal. So I would just kind of do it that way. If you feel like the more you structure your lesson plans, the less confusing it's going to be for your audience. The clearer your messages, your lesson, the objectives, so that way they know exactly what they're going to learn, how they're going to learn it, and how they know that they have mastered it. If you can approach every single lesson that way, I promise you, you probably won't overwhelm them too much.
Like to go through the first 5 letters in the first one, I don't think should be very hard. But for some people, depending, I know it could take more time, so do I want to break that into smaller lessons or just?
I'd say your audience retention is probably going to be higher when you keep it less is more. We'll put it that way. When it comes to video content and tutorials and things like that, especially on the YouTube platform, because you kind of have to think of the algorithm and how that, unfortunately, even teachers, when you're doing tutorials and things like that, you still have to play the algorithm game. And I in that situation would, and Diana, you could probably.
Yeah, I can speak to that. I have a lot of knowledge about that.
My philosophy is always less is more. Don't fit too much in because you think you can. Fit less in because it's going to be more successful with the algorithm and your audience retention.
And right. the algorithm is all based on the retention. How long are they watching the whole video all the way through? And if many people are doing that, then the algorithm is going to be promoting that more.
Right.
But you have to, like, because I'm in art and in the art genre too, that there's tutorials that they're showing. She's like showing step by step the acrylic painting, and her tutorial, like when she has like 150,000 subscribers, she's showing. I mean, her videos are like an hour to an hour 15 minutes, but sometimes only 20 minutes, sometimes 30, but many are an hour 15, and she's showing step by step how to do this thing. So if something is really step by step and you're trying to follow it all the way through, something that has then maybe it can be longer if they're trying to get to the completion. But if it's something you could break up into several different videos, but yes, less is more. Less is more.
It's going to give you an opportunity for your audience, because just as a learner, when I'm watching tutorials, when they've broken it down and I've finished a video and it's like, it's one of those things where it's just narrowed it down to just one concept. Yes, it's going to be a shorter video, but I get that kind of dopamine kind of sense of success. I did it. I finished, I've conquered one small thing. It helps motivate the learning process more as well. When you throw too much into one video, you're risking more overwhelming them. Even though it seems simple, they may not have the time to dedicate that much into mastering into one sitting. So by breaking it down, you're allowing them to take more control over going at their own pace. And so they're going to get more of a reward and more of a kind of checking that off the box, that success, kind of that feedback, positive experience feedback when you do that. So it's counterintuitive for those of us that are doing tutorials. It's like you want to cram it all out there and give it all out there, like, bam, here's some great value in this video. But when you pack it full too much, it ends up backfiring negatively on us. So I've got to jump off here, Diana.
Thank you so much for joining us today.
Yes, it is.
Cindy. Cindy's very busy with 2 small children, ages 4 and 6.
Yeah.
We were happy. We were very lucky to get Cindy today. And
I so appreciated that, Diana and Flo. It was a pleasure meeting you. You are welcome to join on our blind community chats over there as well. If there's any other additional questions,
Cindy's channel is down below. It's called Seeing Blind Channel, and Cindy's channel called Seeing Blind Channel. Link down below in the description box.
Thank you, guys.
Paul popped in. Paul popped in to say hello.
Oh, hi, Paul. Yeah, I guys, I'm so excited. I am almost to 1K, Diane. It's been such a long journey.
That's
I've
awesome.
almost hit 1K, and I'm like, yay! I've got my merch store. I've got my website. I'm almost to 1K. I feel like, finally the ball's kind of rolling a wee bit, and I'm so excited.
You do that's congratulations. And you do live streams twice a week?
Yes, I'm actually, though, getting ready to cut it back to once a week, just because, like I think you said, Paul told you that I've had a bit of bad family news. My brother has cancer, and it's really bad. So I'm gonna, I want to maintain weekly things, but I just need to do a self-check and pacing. And I think doing 2 live streams a week is interfering with family time and my own mental health. So I'm posting like actual edited, structured videos. So I'm going to try to start doing live streams once a week so that I can kind of prioritize in other areas. But I haven't chosen Tuesdays or Thursdays. I might poll everybody. Do y'all want to do blind community chat on Tuesdays or Thursdays? But yeah.
Poll is I just did a big poll on my channel just to ask people what would they love to see on my channel. So, and gave them options, and that's a very good idea to always give a poll.
Yeah. So I'm still learning how to do all that. I just got the community tab open not long ago, so
right.
still exploring it.
Yeah, so we're gonna end it. Yeah, we're gonna end it now. Thank you so much for joining us on Panel Flo.
Yeah, thanks. It was wonderful meeting you, Flo. Thank you, Diana.
Oh, thank you. Okay, bye. Thank you, Cindy. Thank you so much.
Bye, everybody.
Thank you, Flo. Bye.
Bye.